Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Chris Hoy.
How you doing? Good evening.
I think when we look at those scenes, there's some pretty incredible scenes there, and you must miss the buzz of competing every day.
Yes, I do. You know, I started cycling because I loved it. It was my hobby, and to be able to do your hobby for 20 years, to compete, travel the world, to achieve beyond what you ever thought was possible, it's hard to walk away from that, and I guess that's why I haven't really walked away from cycling. I'm still involved in cycling. I'm still cycling for fun and for various sort of other goals, but yeah, you miss it. You know, particularly when you watch these kind of videos and you see, it just brings back the memories, and I'm just very fortunate. I've got so many great memories to look back on, and it's great that I've barely aged a day as well when you look at some of those clips, you know, particularly the Athens one, blimey, yeah.
Do you miss the competing or do you miss the training?
Sometimes people get confused when I sort of explain that I miss the training. I don't miss the pain of training. I used to hate, like any normal person, you hate that the physical pain every day. You know, it's relentless. But the feeling of getting through a session or getting through a day and having genuinely, you know, you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I couldn't have worked any harder. I physically couldn't have given more today. And you've taken that small step towards that end goal. It's a really satisfying feeling, and to have an end goal, to have some sort of target to aim for, to be on that journey towards it, I loved it. And I loved being part of the team. I loved being a member of the team, just the atmosphere, the travel. And it was tough. You know, there's no doubt it was an extremely challenging lifestyle. You know, you have to put yourself first, you have to put competition training, everything else is put to the side. But I love the training, but I don't think I could have done it for that many. You know, I could have done 20 years of racing if it was just about the gold medals. It has to be about enjoying what you do, enjoying the process of trying to get to that end goal.
So when you look back at some of those career moments, is there any that stand out in particular, or is there a collective?
I think before London 2012, I would definitely have said that the 2004 Games in Athens were first gold medal. And when you win your first Olympic gold medal and you hear your name called out before you step on the podium, and then it's followed by Olympic champion, there is nothing like that feeling, aside from perhaps becoming a father or, you know, things like that, which are quite cool too. My wife's not here, it's okay. But that sense of, my God, you know, I'm an Olympic gold medalist now, and that's what I've always dreamed of, and never ever thought I was going to get there. You know, I wasn't one of those kids that was exceptional at sport from a young age that you pick out and think, there's a future world champion or Olympic champion. I was good, but I had to work so hard for every single slight improvement throughout the years. It took me till I was 26 to become world champion. I was 28 in Athens when I became Olympic champion. And so I think when I won my first gold medal in Athens, that was like no other experience. And also partly down to the nature of the event on the night. It was the time trial event, so there's one rider on the track at any one time. It was in reverse order of seeding, so as world champion I was going to go last. And just the way, you know, basically the pressure built and built and built, and there were 4 world records broken before I stepped on the track. And to deal with that pressure and just the atmosphere, everything, it was I never thought anything would come close until London. You know, and London was, we look back at it now, it was only 5 years ago. It seems like a long time ago now, and just everything about those games, that the time, the country came together, it was just a wonderful time. And to have the memories of carrying the flag, winning the team sprint, and then capping it all off with that last gold medal, you know, there was nothing. I thought I'd seen and done it all, and there was nothing that could compare to that final gold medal, stepping on the podium and looking out across this sort of sea of faces like there is just now, and picking out, you know, family, friends, teammates, coaches, rivals, coaches, and realising this is the last time I'm going to do this. This is the last time I'm going to step on the podium as, you know, at the Olympic Games, and this is the end of the journey. And when I won a silver medal in Sydney in 2000, and if I'd stopped the next day, I would have been happy with that silver medal, knowing I'd got an Olympic medal. I never thought I was going to keep going for another 12 years.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, actually, when you started out in the sport, how far did you think you could go? Did you always want to go right to that very top level?
I dreamt of becoming an Olympic champion. I think like a lot of kids do, or dreamt of, you know, achieving big things. But I never thought it was possible. We had nobody that was winning in the UK at that time. There was Chris Boardman and Graham O'Brien, who were both heroes of mine. But in sprinting terms, there was nobody to watch or to learn from or to aspire to emulate. So it almost seemed like it was an impossible dream. And nowadays, if you're talented, if you have drive, ambition, you know, and you're 14, 15 years of age in cycling, you have this pathway from, you know, the talent ID level up to the junior academy, senior academy, Olympic program. There is a pathway you can follow, but back then we didn't have that, so it never seemed like a realistic goal.
It's an interesting point, really, because when you grew up through the sport, then you had no idols and no one to look at. I mean, my hero was George Best, so I always wanted to play football. Unfortunately, that never happened, but at least I could see footage of someone who you aspired to be. But in your situation, there was no one to follow.
Well, the hard thing is when your idols then become people in different countries. So you look at the Aussies, the Germans, the French, who are the current world champions, and you'd see them racing once a year or watch them on TV, and then you hear on the grapevine the kind of Chinese whispers about what training they did and how hard they were training and what type of efforts they were doing. And I remember hearing that the Germans were doing 20 500-meter efforts in a session, and I was at that point doing about, I think, maybe 5 or 6 in a session. So I thought, I'm going to do 4 times the amount of training, the volume of training. And I sat up there and I thought, right, I'm going to try and do 20 today. And I got to like 9 efforts in, and apart from anything else, I'd almost taken up the full session. I'd done like 2 hours just to get these efforts done. And I was just about on my back, and I sort of thought, well, I'm just never going to be the best. If that's what you've got to do, it's physically impossible. And it turns out it was nonsense, of course. The Germans were only doing about 6 efforts. But again, you hear things and people say, oh, that's what so-and-so does, or I hear they do this. And it's amazing the kind of the rumours. And it's funny when you speak to your rivals, when you retire as well, you speak to them and you start hearing the rumours about your team, about what training you did and the kind of things you used to eat and the things you used to do. And we thought you were like, you used to eat raw steaks and all this sort of stuff. And you just don't know where the rumours come from. But without having somebody to train with and to learn from. And really, it was only when Jason Queally won the gold medal in Sydney, a teammate of mine, who I finally had this person to aim for, this person who was the best in the world in an event that I wanted to try and become the best at. He was a really good guy, very generous with his knowledge and with his mentoring. And he basically, I suddenly became a rival, and he knew I was going to become a rival, but he kept supporting me and kept guiding me. And I beat him in 2002 at the Commonwealth Games. He was riding for England, I was riding for Scotland. And he knew that 2 years later in Athens, I'd be a big rival there. And in the end, I got the team place, and he didn't ride. And for him to continue supporting and giving me advice and helping me along, the measure of the man, an amazing character, an amazing guy. He just wanted to be the best he could be. He didn't care if someone beat him. As long as he got the best out of himself, then he was happy. It's quite a commendable character to have.
And you started out in BMX cycling, is that correct?
Yeah, I raced BMX. I'd love to say I was inspired by some iconic sporting moment to take up cycling, but actually I was watching the film E.T. and I was only 6 at the time, and I remember, not the bit where he flies up into the sky. I was a silly kid, but I wasn't that stupid. But yeah, it was the scene at the end where the kids they're getting chased by the police and they're on their BMX bikes and they're going over jumps and round corners. And I'd never seen a BMX bike before. I mean, that's how old I am. It was a while ago. BMX was brand new. It hadn't really come to the UK. It was just arriving. And that was the spark. That was what inspired me. I wanted to get a BMX bike. I wanted to take up cycling, and it all kind of started from there.
Yeah, I think there's something magical about when you grow up as a young boy. One of the first things that you learn is how to ride a bike, and that feeling never leaves you, really, does it?
It kind of came back to me recently. I was out in Iceland. I'm trying to break a world record for cycling across Antarctica to the South Pole. Trying to do that next January 2019. And we were doing a recce out in Iceland, testing this snow bike, basically a fat bike with huge big tyres. And we were up on top of this glacier riding on this bike, and it just brought back the feelings. All I was doing was riding a bike, and it was on snow, but there was something so fun and so, liberating about it. And getting across this glacier under your own steam, it just brought back all those memories. So yeah, there is definitely something about getting your first bike, that sense of freedom. It's the first time that you can actually, you choose where you're going, you choose how fast you want to go, you don't have someone pushing you or taking you, it's under your own steam, and that sticks with you.
And so what age did you make the transition then from BMX to track cycling?
Well, I raced BMX till I was 14, and it was just, I was looking for a new challenge, and I was still enjoying it, but not as much as before. Mountain biking was coming out as a new sport in the early 90s. I tried mountain biking, wasn't very good at it. I was racing for 2.5 hours, having been doing 30-second sprints and BMX. I didn't really know it then, but I'm a pure sprinter, so mountain biking didn't really suit me. Going up the big hills didn't really suit me. So it was probably, I was about 15 or 16, I went to Meadowbank Velodrome just to join a cycling club to try and learn how to train for mountain biking. And I thought, oh, they meet at the velodrome, I'll maybe have a shot on this. And it wasn't an overnight thing where I suddenly, the light bulb moment. I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't particularly good at it. And again, I started, it was like a slow thing. I sort of gradually started to improve. I won my first ever race when I was 16, and it was in this Grand Prix event at Edinburgh. And it was like a handicap race, 500 metre handicap. And because I was only 15 or 16, I got a really long handicap. And my dad pushed me off, so you get a proper shove from the start. My dad's a big guy, and he'd been practicing his push-off. And I think I was about 100 metres ahead of everybody else, like miles in distance, and I got this huge shove, and I barely had to touch the pedals until I got to the home straight with a lap to go. And I just remember the feeling of, you could hear them coming, and I knew they were coming, and my dad said to me, whatever you do, don't look back, just don't look behind you, keep going, keep going. And that last finishing straight, just thinking there was a £50 prize on the line, and you, 50 quid, back then, it's a lot of money, and just threw my bike across the line, and the second I got across the line, about 6 guys just swamped me. So I won it by about 2 or 3 inches, and that was my first proper race on the track, and that was it. I was hooked.
And was there a clear moment where you thought, actually, I'm pretty good at this and could make a career, or was it more of a gradual?
It was. People say, how do you get to become an Olympic champion? And yeah, of course, hard work and commitment is a big part of that, but luck is a big part of it too. It's the timing of how things pan out. I was at university. I left in '99, and that was just when lottery funding started. So up until that point, there was no pathway, no sort of career path to follow as a professional cyclist on the track. You just, you had a part-time job where you signed on and you sort of scraped by, and really there was no opportunities to make it. We didn't have an indoor track until 1995. But I left university at just the right time. Funding started. I got £10,000. It meant I could pay for my rent, pay for my food, stayed in a room in a house down in Manchester. Moved down there, and it all started, and I didn't really think I could make it, to be an Olympic champion until probably about 2002 when I won the Commonwealth Games. That was the first time I thought, I was 26 at that point. I thought there was a chance here. It seemed like the impossible dream. I thought each stage it was about being as good as I could possibly be, and just a curiosity of how far can this take me. I never thought it was going to be to the top. But I always thought, well, maybe if I can, it'd be great to get to the top 10 in the world, then maybe top 5, and then scrape a medal at a World Cup, and before I knew it, I was challenging for the Olympic gold.
It's fair to say that British cycling, the involvement of British cycling in the UK has been a phenomenal, really a success story. But when you first started out, the equipment wasn't very good. Did I read a story you had to sign out your own tracks?
Yeah, well, the first World Championships in 1996 in Manchester, and you kind of imagine now, we're starting in cycling, at the start of the season you get given 2 massive kit bags, you've got loads of cycling kit, leisure wear, you get road bike, training bikes, nutritional support, physio, mechanic, coaching, video analysis, everything. Look at every possible detail to try and optimise performance. And back then, like in 1994, 1993, there were 2 full-time members of staff at British Cycling, that was it. Now they've got massive offices, hundreds of people, and it's grown from that. So yeah, for the World Championships, you had to sign this grubby tracksuit top that was all, it was white, but it was kind of more grey than it was white, and you sign it out, and if you didn't hand it back in, you had to pay a fine, and you got 2 racing suits for the whole season, 2 skin suits. If you crashed and put a hole in one, then you had one. That was it. You had your own bike, you got to borrow a set of wheels to race on. I mean, I sound like a right old, codger now, talking, it's all fields in those days. But yeah, it was a very, very different world to the one we're in now.
Because there's some parallels there with Premier League football. So back in those days, if you signed a new contract, you still had to clean people's boots. And I often wonder, looking at your career and some of those footballers' careers, did that lack of support early on stand you in good stead for later in your career?
Definitely. I think it's to span both eras. If I had only had that, then I think there'd be question marks of, well, what could I have achieved if I'd had the right support? But equally, a lot of the young athletes coming on now, I think there's so much pressure immediately to succeed. You've got to be at such a high level straight away, otherwise you don't make the team. it's the fun element was a huge part of what kept me going, what made me enjoy being in the team. And it's, you know, aside from what you might read in the media, it's not some sort of torture chamber where the coaches are shouting at the riders. There is a really strong team spirit in there. People do have fun, but I think I just feel fortunate that I've been able to span both sides, to experience the world outside of cycling before I got into it, before the support was there. So I appreciated the support when it was there. And then I think you had a bit more perspective on life in general. When it came to the really tough times, you had to remind yourself how lucky you were. You know what, you're doing what you want to do here. And you know, looking back, it passes so quickly your career that you wish you could see yourself back in the day and say, you know, enjoy it while it lasts, because it will. No matter how long your career is, it will pass before you know it.
Yeah, I guess that's a related point. Really, is if you could give your younger self some piece of advice, what would it be?
I think it's don't limit what you believe you can achieve, and you know, why aim for halfway up the mountain? Why not aim for the top? You might not get there, but don't limit your ambitions based on what people tell you. When I joined the team, because we didn't have any success in the events I was going for, it was seen as an impossible pursuit. There was no chance of doing it. Why do you want to do that? You're not going to get anywhere. You can't make a living out of it. And I guess it's about believing in yourself. And even if you don't make it, even if you only get halfway there or you get somewhere there, you'll never know where that experience and the way you've applied yourself, where that will take you. So, you know, a great example, John Norfolk was a rider who did the same event as me. He was the 5th best rider in the country, but probably top 10 in the world, really, in the event, in the 1,000 metre time trial. There was Jason Queally, myself, Craig McLean, and Jamie Staff, who were all world medalists in that event, and he was the 5th best. But because he was the 5th best, he didn't get to ride the World Championships, he didn't get to ride the Olympic Games. He missed out on all those chances. He was in the team, but not quite there, you know, at the very, very top. And he kept working, and he learned, and he watched, and he took on board all the information. And then he went into coaching, or he went to the Paralympics into tandem for a while, on the front of the tandem with a visually impaired rider behind him. And then he became a coach. And then he became the head coach of the Paralympic team. And now he's the head sprint coach, so he's the head coach out in Australia for Cycling Australia. So, you know, for a lot of people who start out and they have coaching as their main ambition, what he's got is almost like the Olympic gold medal of coaching. You've got that amazing job with an amazing team in a great part of the world, and he's got there. Okay, it's not where he started out. He didn't aim for that initially, but he started a different route. But by applying himself and by working hard and giving his best, and that's a very long, involved answer to your question. But I would say, give your best and don't limit what you think you can achieve.
You obviously had a sports science degree as an undergraduate student, which the majority of people in this room would have. Did having that sports science background, did it do you any favours in your career?
Yeah, well, the reason I started off actually doing physics and maths, and I was at St Andrews. And
similar to me.
And whether it was a combination of just being terrible at it and realising I should try something else, or just the feeling that, do you know what, I want to give my cycling one last shot. So I'd gone up to St Andrews, I'd spent literally the first term, I had my bike chained up outside the halls and I hadn't touched it, it was all rusty, and I was like, I should really get out the bike at some point. And a letter arrived from British Cycling saying, would you like to come down once a month, just for a training weekend to Manchester as part of the development team. I mean, the team, it was just literally a get-together. And they could only rent the velodrome for 2 weekends a month, because they couldn't afford to rent it. The velodrome was there, they had this brand new facility, but British Cycling couldn't afford to rent it. So you had all kinds of stuff, cat shows, Tory party conferences, cheerleading contests, but very little cycling going on. So they said, you know, once a month you can come down and train for 3 days. And that was just enough to make me think, do you know what, I'm going to give this a go. So I loved St Andrews, it was an amazing place, had a great time, great social life, but I realised, you know, if I want to really try and make a go of my cycling, I moved back to Edinburgh, stayed at home with my parents, saved money on rent. There was a track in Edinburgh, old training mates, and I changed to sports science. And the sports science, it was, to me, it wasn't, I didn't feel like I was having to force myself to work, to study. I had this thirst for knowledge, because there was no coaching to really tell me what to do. And I had all these questions, you know, about how to train for maximum muscle power, for sprint power production, for everything really. And I guess to have this library with all these resources, I was reading, you know, scientific journals and papers and trying to get answers. And so it was an exciting thing to be able to go to uni and to have people that I could speak to and ask questions and try and form my own idea of how to train and how to prepare for the event I was doing.
I think there's a lot of people in this room that would wish that we all had athletes like that. Actually, the conversation would be a lot more straightforward. The majority of people in this room do work with athletes, and you've worked with a lot of well-known sports scientists and coaches over the years. What would you say makes a good sports scientist? What types of things should we be trying to get better at?
I think one of the big challenges is just communication. It's getting your message across. I've met and worked with some incredibly intelligent people who have amazing ideas, and it's accessing that knowledge, or not even accessing it, it's embracing these people into your team. So, even from a psychology perspective, we had Dr. Steve Peters turned up in 2003 to the team. And the team were really sort of resistant to any form of psychological assistance, because it was almost seen as a weakness to be going to see a psychologist for help. It was like, why is he going to go and see Steve Peters? And people were reluctant. And then it just took one or two of the senior writers to engage with Steve, and then everybody got on board. And Steve was a revelation to the team. His approach, he's written numerous books now, an amazing guy who not only helped writers perform under pressure, but relationships within the team. He was a sort of sounding board. He was somebody who, the voice of reason basically within the team, for staff, for writers, for everybody, but not just psychology, all aspects. I would say it's trying to make the coaches think that they've thought of the idea first as well is a good one. Particularly become
involved on that one.
I think coaches often, maybe not so much now, but certainly 10, 15 years ago, coaches were a bit threatened by sports science support. They saw it as, well, are you going to try and do my job? What's your role here? How are you going to start telling my athletes what to do? But if you can come on board and say, look, we have the knowledge together, a combined team effort, we can do everything here. We can touch all the bases, we can make sure that we've thought of everything. And I guess it's just not making people feel threatened, and trying to communicate that and build relationships with the writers and with the coaching staff.
I think that's a great answer, and we can all learn some lessons from. Obviously, everyone here is a sport nutrition background. At what point in your career did you really begin to appreciate the role of nutrition and influencing your training and your performance and so on?
I think it was, I suppose it would have been probably 2002 onwards, really starting to, I think you stop seeing the big improvements. So initially, when you do something for the first few years, you see huge improvements almost regardless of what you do. And at the same time, you have very few, at that point, very few role models or people to sort of follow or to learn from. So you're looking at other athletes in different countries, and you're drawing assumptions. You don't really know what they're doing in terms of their diet or their training. So there's all these rumours about, this guy does it and he just eats nothing but KFC and drinks Coke all day. And you're like, well, if he's doing that, maybe diet's not that important. And I guess every sport has somebody who does things the wrong way and still succeeds up to a point. But the way that sport has changed so much in the last decade, those are fewer and fewer, far between in terms of really high, physically demanding sports like cycling. So I would say 2002, I just started to really look at recovery as a big part of what I was doing. And as you get older as well, the rate of recovery starts to slow down, in between sessions. And if you want to try and keep that density of training the same, you want to try and keep the same volume of training and with the quality, then recovery is everything. So diet is, aside from looking at things like your sleeping and other things, diet is the most important part of recovery.
Yeah. It's fair to say that strength training is a massive component of your daily activity. Do you want to tell everyone what your 1RM was on the squat?
In squatting, I can tell you that, but first of all, I'm just going to say that it's really interesting because you get some athletes that are exceptionally strong. So there's this young lad called John Paul who was junior world champion. He was on the senior team for a while, didn't make it at senior level, but was exceptionally strong, like unbelievably strong. He was quite short, so he had short levers, so he was mechanically was in a good position, biomechanically. And he could squat. There's videos on YouTube of him squatting 330 kilos, 340 I think. And, to give you an example, my 1RM was 240 kilos. And this guy, you think, well, if he's squatting 340 kilos, he should be world champion 10 times over. But the key thing with strength training with athletes in all sports, it's not really about the ultimate numbers. It's about, are you improving? Are you gaining strength? How you can apply that strength. The strength is just the foundation with which you can then build onto the power and the speed and everything else from. But unless you're a weightlifter or a powerlifter, it's an assistance to what you're doing. But if you can train intelligently, if you can use that strength and apply it and you know, recruit that strength, then it's going to help. But yeah, we used to, I mean, I leg pressed 650 and squatted 240, but there were guys that squatted a lot more than that. But yeah, it was, of course you have the competitions in the gym, you know, that's part of what pushes you on when you go down to the gym in the morning and it's just another, you know, Wednesday morning and it's cold outside, you turn up in the gym. It's your teammates, it's your pals that are then trying to lift half a kilo, 2 kilos more than you. You think, no, I'm not having that, I'll put a little bit more on. And you push each other on, you motivate each other, and that's what's important about being in a team.
What did a typical day's training look like for you? Was it morning track and then afternoon gym, or was it vice versa?
The gym was always morning, so well, not every morning, but we'd only do 2 gym sessions a week. So in the early years, when you're trying to gain the strength, 3 sessions a week normally. But once you've got the strength, it's easier to maintain strength and to gain strength. And I guess a lot of the stuff we did on the bike was technically what you would call strength training, because you're using huge gears and very high torque. So technically it's still strength training of a sort, but in terms of actual basic gym strength training, 2 sessions a week, focusing on lower body. You wouldn't do anything upper body wise, try not to gain size in your upper body because of frontal area. But a normal day, like a normal week, say you're pre-season when the volume's high, you'd be doing 32 hours a week of training. A normal day, get up, ride to the gym, 2 hours in the gym, ride home from the gym, have your recovery food.
So you actually ride to the gym, yeah?
Yeah, it's just very low intensity. So it's supposed to be out in Australia, so get some fresh air. That's part of the reason why we went out to Australia in the winter, was to get some nice weather. And, there is the whole debate about mileage or endurance training for a sprint athlete, but it was always just very, very low intensity, low resistance, high cadence, turning your legs over, getting yourself ready for the gym session, waking up, hitting the gym ready and hard, and then ride home. You'd ride the track as well, often out in Australia, 3-hour track session normally, focusing on a specific component of fitness. So it would be either acceleration or speed endurance or high speed or any kind of torque work. One specific thing, and you'd focus on that for the whole session. You'd ride home, so you'd be, then you get your physio session, have your dinner, go to bed, and it was just, it was relentless. And I think that as much as we loved it, I loved the training, but it was you never looked too far ahead. You never looked the next day or the next week or the next month, just one step at a time. Because if you could totally psych yourself out on a 10-week training camp thinking, we're only week 2 and I'm on my knees. How on earth am I going to struggle for the next 8 weeks? And as soon as you start thinking that way, there's a sort of self-preservation mechanism kicks in, where you start to hold back a little bit, and you think you're giving 100%, but you don't. You give 99% or 95% just to get through the session or get through the week. But if you just break it down and say it's just one effort, and if it's not good enough, if I'm seriously dropping off, then we'll knock it on the head today and rest. But each time you can sort of trick yourself, your brain tricks your legs, say one more effort, and that's how you get through a session, and a day, and a week, and a month.
From a nutritional perspective, was there anything that you've done in your career that you really felt a difference when you did it? Was it ramping up the protein intake or changing your carbohydrate intake?
Yeah, in the early days, it was all, early, so mid-90s, it was just all carb loading and, get as much pasta down your neck, and you look back now and realise how simple the advice, if you call it that, was, and how much things have changed. Protein was obviously a huge part of all sprinters and strength athletes, power athletes' diets. Having quality protein, but also understanding it's not just about more is better, it's taking on huge amounts of things. It's about being intelligent, it's about the timing of when you take your on board your food, how staying hydrated, basic things. It's about, I suppose, establishing a routine, and not just. I think a lot of people think, we'll try something and we'll stick with it for a week and all that's making no difference. I'll try eating this instead, or having this before we go to bed. Stick with it for a while. Let your body have time to adapt and see whether it's making a difference or not. But I would say creatine made a big difference in supplementation. There were always new supplements coming out, and it was just, on one hand, there was a concern over, is this going to give a false positive test? There were all these new supplements coming out every week or every month or so. And then, and we're here with SIS, So it's, obviously I'm an ambassador with them now, but joking apart, this is 100% true. They were the only company that I really trusted. There were other brands out there and other brands that the team were sponsored by, but when your reputation, your whole career, everything is on the line by having a false positive test, then you've got to trust what you're putting in your body. Anything you put in your body, you have to know exactly what's in it. So SIS were that brand, and they had creatine monohydrate the first time, I think 1995, KR10 I think it was called back then, and that was of all these sort of wonder supplements, you do the research and you read about it and you actually see, well, this does make sense. There's logic behind it. It's not just about, well, yeah, you can take that on board, but your stomach's going to destroy it as soon as it lands in it. Actually, you could see the evidence, and it wasn't. When you hear things like, oh, take this, it'll give you a 20% improvement, or this will give you 10%. When you see this could give you a 5%, improvement in your drop off of your fatigue rate or whatever, or 1% improvement, that's when your ears kind of prick up a bit and think, oh, well, that makes more sense. You don't find huge improvements, you just find tiny improvements here or there, then it could be worth trying.
I think it's fair to say that all of us in the room, minimising the risk of contamination is a massive part of our job. I'm sure you've been tested hundreds of times in your career. Did it ever get annoying when people were knocking on the door to get you out of bed every morning for testing?
The worst part is that, because you can get tested any time, and you have a kind of an hour a day that you would always put down on your whereabouts so that you can be tested anywhere in the world, any time, but you also have an hour that you have to be in a specific location for the testers to come. So I used to do it in the morning because I always knew, well, I'm going to be in my bed at 6 o'clock. I don't get up until the last possible minute. So if I'm in the right place, at least I'll be in bed. But what always used to happen, because you're always drinking lots and trying to hydrate, you'd wake up at early hours with a full bladder, thinking, I need to go to the loo. And you look at your clock and you think it's 5 to 6 or whatever. I'll just go to the toilet now. They're not going to come this morning. You just literally flush the toilet, bing bong. And you're like, oh no. So you go downstairs, sorry, it's going to be a wait now. You're sitting there drinking coffee with some stranger who's then going to watch you take a wee, half an hour later. It's a strange world, yeah. It's a strange world. But I can tell you a little story actually. Is this a reasonable audience to have? I was in Australia at I think it was the Commonwealth Games, and we were in Perth, a training camp beforehand, and then the drug testers came around and did this test, and it's the same routine every single time, but this time the guy said, and you basically take your top off, and then when you're ready to wee, you take your trousers down so they can actually observe you doing the sample. But this guy said, you've got to do a 360. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, you've got to do a full 360 just so I can check there's nothing, So it's really sort of self-conscious sort of full rotation. He's like, okay, on you go. Did the sample, and then I went to the Commonwealth Games 2 weeks later, and won the race. Went to dose control, went, okay, right to the sample, yeah, shirt off, trousers down, do you want me to do a 360? And he looked at me as if I was meant to. I was like, is that not, the guy last week asked me to do that, he said that was part of the new routine. He goes, no, that's not part of the new routine. So yeah, that was the strangest one.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned carbohydrate and protein, but in the sport nutrition world, we're back in the era of high fat. Is that beneficial for athletes? Did you ever experiment with any high fat diets in your career?
Not for performance gain, really, just by accident in the early years, just eating anything I wanted to. It kind of passed me. It was, that's this. Yeah, I retired in 2013, so really I missed that in my career, but. Certainly now, I'm doing this South Pole record attempt, and that will be a big part of it, I'm sure, high protein, high fat.
Do you want to tell people about that record attempt you're doing?
Oh yes. Did I mention it earlier on?
Tell us more.
I feel like I've been waffling on, sorry. I'm trying to break the world record for cycling to the South Pole, so that's going to be January 2019. From the coastline to the South Pole, there's a world record set on skis, and also there's a cycling record. So I'm trying to break both the human-powered record and the cycling world record. The existing records are 10.5 days for cycling and 8.5 days for skiing. And basically, we just fly in there, drive the route in reverse, jump out, smash it for as many hours a day as we can, 14 hours, stop, have a sleep in the tent, eat some food, get up, do it again. And I mean, I hate the cold weather. I don't know why I'm doing it. Everyone, it's like, why are you doing it? And then I keep asking myself, initially I was like, well, this is not the kind of thing I would enjoy doing. I'd go for the sunshine, go for some warm weather. But the more I looked at it, the more I read about it, the more research I did, it's just an incredible part of the world. And the people that have been there, and you read their stories, a proper adventure, and something exciting to aim towards, and it's completely out of my comfort zone in terms of training. I'm not designed to ride for 14 hours. When you've got to start at sea level and go up to 3,000 metre altitude, and then you're on the glacier, on the plateau, at 3,000 metres for the whole way. So you're at altitude and you have the cold and the resistance to snow. So it's, massive challenge, but hopefully a huge amount of fun.
And do you think the need to do that challenge is to replace the buzz of competing?
Not really. I think I enjoy having a goal. It doesn't have to be competition, but to have a target or something to motivate me on a daily basis is important. Yeah. But just adventure and realising how quickly your career passes by, how quickly your life passes by, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone in 10 or 20 years' time. So I think when you have opportunities like that not many people get the chance to go there. I'm not going to end up there in business or on holiday. It's one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. And yet, when you see how beautiful it is, how incredible it is, and to have that chance to go there would be amazing. But it's not to replace my old cycling career. I do a bit of motorsport now for fun, for sort of adrenaline, and for competition. But
how did you get into the motorsport then, Chris?
I just used to do track days. I used to drive track days at the end of my cycling season, 4 or 5 a year, just for fun. And then after I retired, I was doing a documentary about a hero of mine, Colin McRae, Scottish rally driver, world champion in the mid-90s. And it was doing that documentary, somebody said, well, we've got this novice race series starting next year. If you're interested, we could get you a seat in one of the cars. And it just started from there. And then, my ultimate aim in motorsport was to do the Le Mans 24-hour race, which I did last year.
That must have presented some big nutritional challenges. I would imagine hydration during that race.
It's hard. You're doing sort of 2.5 hour stints, and you're in the car for 2.5 hours, out for about 4.5. And the amount of sweat you lose, the amount of fluid you lose in the heat of the car is quite incredible. You can be 50-55 degrees easily inside there. It's very claustrophobic. You've got all the safety gear on, so you're obviously very warm in there too. So hydration is the biggest thing, and it's the sleep as well. You go to you race through the night, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, I went back to the caravan and tried to get some rest. I had about an hour's sleep, and I woke up and I felt dreadful. Felt like the room was moving like I was drunk. It was awful. And then everything you're told from a young age, when you start driving. Never drive when you're tired, never get behind the wheel if you're tired. And it was the worst I've ever felt. And I was racing, 200 miles an hour against some of the quickest cars and people in the world in about 10 minutes. And I feel like I've just, had 10 pints or something. So, but there's something about the brain, I think the last second, the adrenaline is released. You suddenly realise the danger and the need for focus. And by the time I got into the car and was strapped in and you're out in the pit lane and out onto the track, you're fine. But yeah, it felt really, really odd that first few minutes getting out of the caravan.
And the other thing you've done post your career is obviously to write children's stories. How did that come about?
Yeah, I think my English teacher, she's really trying to get in touch. She must be absolutely astounded, because it's the last thing you would have thought, if you knew me as a kid, it's the last thing you would have thought I would have done. And that's kind of why, in many ways, I wrote them. It's called the Flying Fergus series. I've written 7 books now for 5 to 8 year olds with Joan Aiden, who's a really talented kids author, and she's been amazing. Just sort of get the ideas I've had and help me to get them down. But really, it's to try and encourage kids, a bit like me, to read, to get once I find an author or a type of book that I enjoyed, I'd read the whole lot. But I wasn't the kind of kid that enjoyed reading. I had to be forced and sort of cajoled into getting the book out. And my sister loved it. She used to read all the time, but I wasn't that kind of child. So trying to inspire kids to read, and then hopefully with the stories, trying to get them out on their bikes when they're finished.
Okay, well, Chris, it's been effortless having a conversation with you, and I think I can speak on behalf of the audience. We've all enjoyed it, and thanks very much for giving up your time. Good luck with your future events. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
If you told us one thing you might not have realised, you told us. What's the record for cycling to the South Pole? 10.5 days, you said.
Yeah.
But you also said in the week you're there, the weather might be bad. So you're planning to take 3.5 days off that record, because you're only going to be there for a week. And that's what it takes to run 6 full miles. To set yourself a target that seems impossible.